And are you guys good to start?
Yep.
Okay. So with that, I'd like to call to order the Board of Selectmen meeting for Tuesday, June 9th. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty and
liberty,
justice for
justice
all.
for all.
Okay. Oops, drop that. Okay, so moving on to item number 3, the first select woman's updates. I think really the big focus over the next couple of weeks is all the wonderful activities that are going to be going on in town. This Saturday, June 13th, that excuse me, 11 o'clock, we will be having the town bicentennial commemoration in partnership with the Madison Historical Society. It'll be held at Lee's Academy, and it'll be kind of a formal way to celebrate the first town meeting, which was held on June 19th in 1826. So kind of a cool event to remember, just the celebration of the starting of the town. And then June 27th, at the Surf Club, starting at 11 o'clock, leading up until the evening, is going to be the town kind of birthday party celebration, the Rising Strawberry Moon Festival. We're going to have several live bands perform on Garden Point, which will be super cool. Food trucks. There'll be kind of a volunteer activity fair that will be there as well. And it'll just be a great day to enjoy being a Madison resident and celebrate our bicentennial. So those are two things that are coming up. I know school is getting out next week as well. So, and things are winding down. There's just a lot going on, both at the Surf Club with different tournaments, end of year celebrations. And then graduation will be happening on Wednesday night downtown on the Green. So busy time. I do want to highlight that tomorrow night we are going to be hosting a information session on the Surf Club Master Plan. That's going to be at Neck River Elementary School at 6 o'clock. I also want to, emphasize it'll be recorded. It'll be available by hybrid. And we will be creating kind of an email address so people watch it. There'll be a question and answer session at the end of the presentation by our consultants. But if people can't attend live and they watch it remotely, we're going to offer an email address that people can submit questions that we'll try to get answers to. So it's a great opportunity to learn kind of what the Beach and Rec Commission has kind of formulated as a preliminary concept plan for the surf club. So that's happening tomorrow night at 6 o'clock at Neck River. And I know it's a lot to pile in, but we did want to have something before school got out. So capture people who are going to be away a lot for the summer. And then we'll see how that attendance goes, get some feedback, and then figure out next steps after that. So that is my update. Any other updates from the board members or comments? Nope. Okay, great. All right, moving on to citizens' comments. Do we have any hands raised? Please raise your hand and state your name and address and limit your comments to about 2 minutes, please.
Yes, there are a few. Hold on one second.
Okay.
Go ahead, Terry.
Hello, Terry Vanendolder of Bartlett Drive here. Item seven of the agenda is an update on the Green Hill and Mungertown Road pedestrian and roadway improvement project. I don't have any idea specifically that update will be about, but I just want to, as a member of both the Madison Conservation Commission and the Tree Advisory Committee, to stress the importance of any decisions made that could impact the environment, local waterways, such as the Neck River, notable trees such as those that line the roadway between Mungertown Road and the Polson and Hand schools along Green Hill Road, should be done so in coordination with those town committees which have the background and subject matter interests in those aspects of the environment that could be grossly affected. Committees such as the Conservation Commission, Tree Advisory Committee, Inland Wetlands, all should be consulted and coordinated with on such projects and not excluded even inadvertently in the planning, engineering, and decision-making process. What we don't want to have is another situation such as we have on New Road, where the clear cutting of that land for development could have produced far better results for the environment. So where these town committees are not a part of the process, they should definitely be incorporated going forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Jess.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
good. Thank you. Jessica Joseph, 129 Green Hill Road in Madison, Connecticut. I'm a member of the Madison Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee, as well as a mother of three students at Neck River Elementary School who frequently bikes and walks my children to school, and was also at the meeting 2 years ago when this project was initially brought forth in front of the Board of Select, and wanted to just express my utmost support for this project and the need for this project to keep our children and neighbors safe who do walk this area regularly, daily. And I sent an email that I hope the Board of Select was able to review, that there was some concerns over the last 2 years that it really wouldn't be used, and that the Strava data potentially wasn't accurate. So I've just taken the liberty to take pictures of people walking and biking in the area. So we could just maybe put that to rest, that it's certainly being used. We had two bike and walk. Thank you. We had two bike and walk events at Neck River, one in October, one in May. The one in October saw well over 300, 400 people, students, staff, and parents walking and biking. And we had one just last month that had roughly 200 parents, students, staff biking and walking. So the need is there, the desire is there, it's happening. And I think we just need to provide the safe infrastructure that I asked the Board of Select to please consider this project.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
There's a representative from the Madison Land Conservation Trust.
Do you want to?
Oh, that me? Wendy Schoen. I didn't actually mean to have the Madison Land Trust Zoom thing. I just signed in and this is what came up. But I live at 194 Bartlett Drive. I am on the board of directors for the Madison Land Trust, but I'm not really speaking for them. I'm speaking for myself. I'm in support of the pedestrian, the sidewalks in the Green Hill Road and Mungertown Road area. I've lived here for 26 years. I've always thought that there should be sidewalks in that area so that people who live close to schools could walk there. And I personally have walked with the Madison Land Trust from the high school with a group of students from the high school to the Lowry Woods Community Forest. And walking on the street, and it would be much safer for everybody if we had sidewalks. But anyway, sorry, I just want to support it as an individual. Although I'm sure if I was speaking for the land trust, I'm sure most people on the land trust would also want to support it, because such a sidewalk would also link people kind of closely to several of our trails on Warpus and Cops roads. So thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comment.
Go ahead, Seth. Seth, you have permission to talk.
Hang on. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Hi, my name is Seth Klaskin. I live at 130 Overbrook Road in Madison. I am currently a member of the Board of Education, and I would first like to express an opinion on behalf of the Board of Education, followed by a personal opinion. On behalf of the Board of Education, I would point out respectfully that the Board of Education took a vote and voted in favor of supporting a letter of submitting a letter in support of sidewalks between the Mungertown campus and the larger high school and Polson campus. We think it's imperative for the safety of our students, not only little ones walking and biking to our new school, but also I would point out that we have runners from our cross country team that often run up and down there. It would be a lot safer and very appreciated for them to have the ability to run on a sidewalk rather than in the roadway. And Now on my own behalf, personally, not as a Board of Ed member, um, this matter kind of hits close to home for me for a couple reasons. One, a long time before I met her, when my wife was a little girl, she was struck by a car in the street. Fortunately, she recovered very well, and went on to a happy life. But that's not always the case. Secondly, when I was about 10 years old, and I was living in a neighborhood, one of the other neighborhood families sustained a real tragedy. That it was the Zachariah family. I remember clear as day. Their daughter, who was approximately kindergarten age, was struck and killed by a car in the roadway in our neighborhood. And I can vividly remember seeing the blood stains on the street, and it was very formative for me. Um, I understand that there's some resistance, and I honor and respect the resistance. I want to make that clear of both the environmental community, whom I agree with, and Terry Vanderdolder's statement earlier. Yes, we should make sure we do it in a minimally invasive way. If we put sidewalks in there, um, but I think it's important that we do have sidewalks so that, if it were me, I understand that there's liability that neighbors incur for keeping the sidewalk clean. But at the same time, I think as community members, if they thought about it a little more deeply and thought about the tragedies that can occur right, you know, outside their doorstep, they might think more community mindedly and favor the sidewalks. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Helen, you have permission to talk.
Hello? Oh, hi.
Yep, we can
Hi.
hear you.
Okay, thank you. I'm Helen Kaiser Peterson, 4 Button Ball Lane, Madison. I am asking to be heard regarding tax relief for Gold Star families residing in the town of Madison. Effective October 1, 2023, property tax that is owned by a parent whose child was killed in action shall be entitled to an exemption from property tax following the approval of an application filed with the assessor. To be eligible for the exemption, the income of the Gold Star parent cannot exceed $81,500. The median income for the town of Madison is $167,442. Our income is not even median. We have lived in Madison since 2002. We receive no other municipal property exemptions. We have filed all the required documentation with the town clerk. We have been denied twice because our income exceeds the amount allowed. We are hoping for the municipality of Madison to remove this disqualification, our disqualification based on our income. If approved, our tax credit would only amount to $461. Asking for this insignificant amount of savings is not why I am here today. As a municipal decision, I am asking that you lay aside the income limit. This is truly a matter of respect for a Madison family that has given so much, whose child has made the ultimate sacrifice. We don't know what the future is going to bring. There may be other Gold Star families in the future. So I thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Any other hands raised?
Many.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
Matthew
we have,
Joseph.
looks like we have, it looks like we have quite a few, so just asking to be respectful of time when you make your comment. Thank you.
Hey, this is Matthew Joseph, 129 Green Hill Road. I will be very brief in saying that I support the sidewalks, especially for safety, but also for aesthetics and having a walkable town. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Next.
Whoever is called Rankin, you have permission to talk.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I think we lost him. And state your name and address, please.
You're muted.
Can you hear? Hello. Yes. Hi, this is Karen Rankin, 8 Orpus Road, Madison. Helen, thank you for your son's service, and I'm sorry to hear that. But yes, I wanted to briefly discuss the roughly 350 feet of potential pathway that would be going through our yard. At this time, there has been significant changes to wildlife because of the Neck River School, which I was in favor for. We've had an influx. We have, at least we know of 2 turtles that have been laying their eggs in our yard. We also have wild turkeys and their chicks or their bullets. We also have swans and ducks that we have never had years past, all habitating in the river behind our house. But more importantly, what I wanted to bring forward was for the people that didn't attend these meetings the last 2 times, there has been an influx of traffic due to the new emergency route. So going down Green Hill Road, we have out-of-town people driving at high speeds, blowing through the stop signs. We hear the horn constantly being used, and pedestrians are, it's a safety risk. But before we talk about sidewalks and increasing pedestrian and bike walkers, I think we need to address the car speeds and everything else that goes on at this corner. Distracted drivers. I can't even tell you how many times we have witnessed people almost getting hit by cars versus cars, motorcycle versus cars. How often we hear it at night. And a sidewalk will not save a life. We need to address the behavior of these cars and the speed right now of these cars.
Okay, thank you for your comment.
Joan Singleton.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. Thank you. I support the sidewalks. We live at 19 Fieldbrook Road, so very close to Green Hill. And what my husband and I have noticed when we're driving around, and my apologies if I'm not 100% accurate on the speed limit, but I think we've noticed on Green Hill that the speed limit is 45 miles an hour, which seems incredibly high for, and then it drops down to like 25 miles an hour by the schools, which is great. I think having a sidewalks will help people stay off the street. It should be safer for them. I also think it might be interesting or something to think about is having some crossing guards. We've had a couple of accidents right at the cross of Green Hill and Durham 79, where people are just forgetting to stop at the stoplight and go right through. So I agree with the woman who spoke before that we need to be more cautious when we're driving, non-distracted, all of that. But I do think the sidewalks would be safer as opposed to people riding their bikes in the street, which is not a good idea. And sometimes without helmets. All right, thank you so much.
Okay, thank
Suzanne,
you
you
for
have
your
permission
comment.
to talk?
Can you
Go
hear
ahead.
me?
Yes,
I'm Suzanne Terabile, resident on Green Hill, 188 Green Hill, and I want to support the sidewalks. We raised our children here. We've been here for 49 years. We have seen some very, very bad accidents on Green Hill due to speeding. And plus the high school sports teams run this section of road between Mungertown and Norton Town. And it's very unsafe. The side of the road isn't trimmed back, so there's poison ivy that's going out into the road, so they have to run way out into the road. And then there's the students that are walking back and forth that are at risk. We have some very reckless driving on Green Hill Road, and I just wanted to say that I support 100% the sidewalks.
thank you for your comment.
Fran Brady?
Hi, thanks. Fran Brady, 108 Genesee Lane. Like your first speaker, Terry Van Der Dolen, I am in full support of her comments. I am also a member of the Tree Advisory Committee. I'm also the co-founder of Mad for Trees. I have concerns about the significant trees that could be removed in the plans. And I hope that one, we have engineers that can figure a way around that. And two, the town will compensate the residents that lose the trees if it's on their property, or if they're town trees, that the town gets compensated. They compensate themselves by a DBH for DBH. A large tree gets replaced by 6 smaller trees somewhere on town property. So yeah, I'm willing to compromise, but I'm not. I would be against not doing anything other and seeing you just cut trees down. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comment.
This is Andrea Hopkins. I live at 115 Twilight Drive, and I am calling in support of sidewalks. I think they really enhance our community. I also think trees are important, and I agree with the previous caller that anything we can do to preserve the sidewalk trees would be wonderful. That's all my comments. Thank you very much.
Jared Gilbert?
You.
Hello, yes, this is Jared Gilbert at 62 Jefferson Park Road, and I'm just calling to say I fully support adding sidewalks as well. Our son's at Neck River, but for everybody in the community as well. Thank you.
Alyssa Connor?
Hi, this is Anissa Connor. I live at 6 Grouse Lane in Madison, and I just wanted to call and express my support of the sidewalks. I think overall it's, but there are many things that should probably be thought about when addressing some of the safety issues. And I, support some of the opposition due to environmental issues as well. But I think overall Madison is it's a beautiful place to live. I think we all agree with that. And anything we can do to make it safer is something that's good for the community overall. So just wanted to voice my support. Thank you.
Lion Hurdle?
Hi, I support the sidewalks for all the very good reasons that have been said. Schools are one of our best assets in Madison, along with the surf club and the trails that we have. And connecting our assets is very important in a safe way for walkers and bikers. So this is a fundamental crux in helping to connect our community. I'd also like to ask, since you mentioned there are a lot of people, can you take account of the people in support of sidewalks here? Just so we get a measure of how many people were willing to come out. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm just thinking in terms of comments. I know some people are listed twice again, and if you want to make a second comment, why don't we go to the end of the meeting? Because then you'll have the opportunity to see the presentation. And just for the interest of time, because it is, we've had a half hour of public comment. So just first time speakers for this part of the meeting, please.
Joan Walker.
Hi, I'm Joan Walker, 39 Stepping Stone Lane. I am in support of the sidewalks. Personally, I'd love to see sidewalks on all the main roads, but I know that's financially almost impossible to do at this point in time unless one of us wins Mega Millions. And secondly, I'm in full support of no cap for Gold Star families. Direct parents, direct spouses and children should not have an issue as far as that goes. I think we should give the ultimate sacrifice that these soldiers have made for our community and our democracy and the world should show in how we're treating those families. Thank you very much.
Bernadette Hackett.
Hi, my name is Bernadette Belmonte Hackett of 181 Green Hill Road, and I am in complete support of the sidewalks. I have witnessed many kids dodging traffic, and I'm on the corner of Nortontown and Green Hill, and I have a dog, and I have been very cautious due to the fact that the cars unfortunately just slide right through the four-way stop sign. So I would love to see Madison putting our children first. And I also support no cap for the Gold Star families. And thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
Jacqueline Gilbert. And the last one is Bill.
Oh, sorry. Is there a way for me to chime in?
Sure.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, this is Jacqueline Gilbert calling in from 62 Jefferson Park Road. I want to say that I'm in full support of the sidewalks. I'm an avid distance runner, marathoner who trains along Warpus and Green Hill, and I felt very unsafe at that intersection. Having a sidewalk would be life-changing for our children, athletes, young families. I completely agree with what everyone has said about connecting our assets. I think that is a brilliant way to think about community and celebrating that. And I'm also for no cap on the four-star families to, as so many have shared, to support those who sacrifice for us and to support the families that need to support them. So thank you.
And last one is Bill.
Hi, I'm Bill Terabile. I live at 188 Green Hill Road, and I'm in support of no cap on the Gold Star families. And also, we live 2 houses up from the corner of Nortontown and Green Hill. And I walk it, I bike it, and it's a hazard, especially on the north side. We live on the south side where the where the brush is allowed to just grow and the poison ivy grows out into the road. You have to, when you're walking, you have to walk a foot and a half out in the road. And when you have two pickup trucks coming, one coming east and one coming west, you have no room. And especially during the winter, we have kids that are walking to school. And when you get a bank of snow, these kids have nowhere to go. We've taken upon ourselves to let the kids walk through our property, and every time the kids walk through and I talk to them, I say, wouldn't it be nice to have sidewalks? And I haven't had one kid tell me no yet. We need them, especially when you get down by the culvert down near the corner of Mungertown and Green Hill. The road gets very narrow and these kids have to walk through that area, and it's putting our kids at risk. And I love trees. I love trees as much as anybody else. But if it comes to saving the life of one of our kids, I'll let the tree get taken down to save that kid's life. So thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
Jim Madison?
Yes.
Jim? John Michael?
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Nice to be here with you all. Thanks for the incredible work you do for our community. I'm John Michael Parker. I live at 227 Mungertown Road. And I am happy to speak in strong support of having sidewalks. I live right around this area, spend a lot of time walking up and down these streets, and I can also add on to what's been shared around the fear one might feel walking on the streets. I sometimes try to do that with my 7-month-old, trying to get over to the beautiful open space we have in our community, which is so important about connecting resources. I spend a lot of time in Lowry Woods, and to get there, I'm walking along some dangerous roads with young kids. And as they grow up, thinking about bringing them to school, similar concerns. So would be very appreciative of the efforts to bring sidewalks into this important part of our community. Also, will speak in support of increasing caps to bring more support to our Gold Star families. It's an issue that in my other capacity as a legislator, I've been trying to work on. I think there's some more state work we can do to move this forward as well. And I look forward to trying to support on that side of things. But as it pertains to town policy, I'm in very much support as well. Thank you for the chance to speak today.
Okay, thank you. I think that's it for new hands raised. I know some people had raised their hands for second comments. We'll take those at the end of the meeting. There'll be an opportunity for public comment at the end, and then you'll also have the benefit of seeing the presentation. So thank you for that. Obviously, a lot of public interest in this. Every time we've had this on the agenda, we certainly do. And we've gotten a lot of email from residents as well expressing their opinions on this topic. So let's move forward to, first of all, just moving forward to item number 6 on the agenda, which is the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Okay, we got seconds. Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great. So the hot topic today, item number 7 is an update on the Green Hill Mungertown Road pedestrian and roadway improvement project. So we're going to have Rob Russo come up, and just to give some background on this, this has kind of been an ongoing discussion that we've had for several years now. The town did vote to expend some money to hire a professional engineering firm to actually develop design plans to optimize how this would work, connecting the Neck River School to Green Hill Road. And then we actually expanded the project a bit to address concerns by the community, to address possible roadway safety issues. Now that the school is open, we're getting more familiar traffic patterns and things like that. And so trying to address some of the other concerns that the neighborhood has had on this. So this is a design, and Rob, I'm noticing, are you going to be able to speak to the design here? I know this ran a little later than we were hoping to start. So how are we going to do this, Rob? Are you going to?
Yeah, so Ken's Gannon from Stantec, our consultant, should also be on.
Okay.
But
Jeannie is the consultant here?
He declined to be promoted initially.
Okay, is he listed on here? I'm going through the list now. Oh, here we go. Okay, great.
He has his hand raised.
Okay.
Hey,
Ken, welcome.
everyone.
Welcome here. I know you've spent some time looking at the the proposed project. And then I think we wanted to, do you have a presentation prepared to walk through the design plans?
I do. I have a a short presentation here.
Okay, great.
I didn't want to get too deep into the weeds, but I do have the plans as well that I can share if we need to. Just seeing if I have the ability to share. It
You
doesn't
have
seem
to
like I.
be a panelist to share.
Okay. Did you promote me to a panelist? There we go.
Yeah, you're cutting in and out. Am I the only one that's having a issue?
I seem to be able to hear him.
All right, now we're back in business.
Huh. I'm getting like a. Okay, great.
Can you guys hear me?
So
Just let me know
is it,
when.
sorry to interrupt, but I'm hearing like staggering audio. Is anybody else experiencing that?
No,
No?
I'm not.
I'm okay.
That's me then. All right. I'll play around with it, but you go ahead with the presentation.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, just let me know if you can't hear anything or see anything, and we'll try to figure it out. I guess before we start, yeah, just a little background. First of all, I'm Kent Gannon. I'm a civil engineer, project manager, associate with Stantec Consulting. We're located at 55 Church Street in New Haven. We've done quite a bit of town work in and around the town over the last several years. And I was at the meeting 2 years ago where we first presented this. So happy to see so many supportive voices in the crowd this time. It was a little different a couple years ago. But with that said, yeah, we were hired by the town to study the feasibility of connecting existing portions of sidewalk, within the school areas here along Green Hill and Mungertown. We did some pretty extensive studying up and down the corridor. I've just listed some of the project goals here, right? To really extend the existing town sidewalk network. And I'll show a plan and a map here in a couple slides that shows where those existing sidewalks are located and what the plan is and where those connection pieces are. Another goal, provide connection between the existing sidewalk sections, like I just mentioned. Provide pedestrian connection, safe routes to school between the Neck River Elementary School and the other school campuses. One of the goals here, and again, we were not contracted to provide full design plans, more or less to study the feasibility of the sidewalk connections, which is what we've done, and we've also provided some cost estimates to the town. One of those goals was really to secure lots of funding, which we're working towards if this is a project the town wishes to move forward. And then obviously improve overall corridor safety. So we looked at some things we could do, maybe to slow traffic in the area and just provide, that added extra level of safety. So here's just some of the stats for the project. Again, the limits are from the Neck River School, and I'm actually let me bring up a laser pointer here so I can point out some things. The Neck River School and extend it over to the existing sidewalks by the Polson School entrance. This route that you see here in green would be all the new sidewalks that would be part of this project. The red highlighted portions of the existing sidewalks that we'd be connecting to. So beyond just the sidewalks along Green Hill Road, there's also some connections for the entrances, both the Polson and Hand here to connect to these existing pieces that kind of dead end before they get all the way out to Green Hill Road. The portions along the road, it's approximately 2,400 linear feet. There's an additional 650 linear feet between the two portions to connect into the site. We show an estimated cost of around 1.39 million at this point, but again, we're early in the design. We haven't completed a real detailed construction documents. That cost is obviously subject to change if we were to move forward. So what are the improvements along the corridor? Well, we'd have a new 5-foot sidewalk with a decorative stamped strip. We're thinking something along the lines of maybe some stamped colored concrete. At this point, nothing really fleshed out, but open to suggestions from the town. New concrete curbing, some new metal beam rail at the bridge. Some of the rail along the bridge and the connection to the bridge over the Neck River is quite aged and in need of some updates. One of the things we thought of when we were out there, we noticed at the corner of Warpus there, it's two-way stop controlled on that three-leg approach. Adding another stop heading east on Green Hill Road might be advantageous to slow traffic down through that area. When we were doing some of our site walk and study in that area, we noticed the speeds at which some of the cars were traveling around that corner were quite excessive. And we, didn't feel safe standing on that corner, so we had to stand quite a bit off the road there just to make sure we were out of harm's way. We included some improvements to the turning radius at Green Hill and Mungertown roads, which I can also show you. And then, of course, new accessible curb ramps and crosswalk striping throughout the project corridor. So I do have some of the plans here. This may be a little hard to read, so I apologize. This just shows, these are more the design plans that show how the sidewalks would be laid out. So we'd be on the east side of Mungertown Road, connecting to the new elementary school is down here, running north. And then this was a change from what we had presented 2 years ago. We stayed along the south side of Green Hill Road. We've switched to the north side of Green Hill Road. We think there's a few advantages of doing that. First, it gives some good connections for any future sidewalk connections to some of these communities north of Green Hill Road. And it also eliminates the conflict we had with that specimen tree, the large tree that's located on the south side of Green Hill Road. That was a tree we had some difficulties trying to find a path across, which is on this, that tree's located right here where I'm highlighting. So originally we had some ideas on how to get around this, and I left this little line work you can see on here because this before would have been an easement or a taking from the property owner at this property. So what we were trying to do with this newest layout was avoid as many tree impacts as possible and also avoid any private property impacts. So again, the sidewalk continues on the north side of Green Hill Road till you get to Warpus Road, and then we cross Warpus Road and then cross again to the south side of Green Hill Road as we head east towards the Hand High School. And then this right here would be the introduction of a new stop sign and a new stop control. So we'd have a three-way stop at this intersection. We noticed as we stood here and kind of studied this portion of the corridor, this is where we saw a lot of excessive speed around this corner. And it seemed to be, some high school students and some others. This area here, this is the bridge. So one of the other things we did was, in order to get a sidewalk across the bridge, when we were here 2 years ago, we thought we could maybe time this project up with the installation of the new water line down the road, and then have a pedestrian bridge along the south side of the existing traffic bridge, and maybe hang the water line from that bridge. Obviously, the timing of the two projects didn't work, so that you see the new insulated water line on the south side of the bridge. So that kind of gave us a difficulty. How do we get a sidewalk across this area? So what we were able to do was shift the roadway alignment slightly, eat into the existing kind of narrow sidewalk that's located on the north side of the bridge, and extend the sidewalk on the south side of the bridge so that we could get a full 5-foot sidewalk across the bridge. And the slight lane shift in roadway narrowing also has an effect as a traffic calming device, as narrow streets will slow travel speeds. So that's how we managed to get through here. I don't have a blow up. I could get to the PDF of the plans and we could zoom in a little bit there to see that a little better if desired. So then again, traveling east along Green Hill Road, sidewalks on the south side. There's an existing crosswalk here. We'd restripe that crosswalk, and then we'd extend the sidewalk along the entrance road into the Hand High School property to make this connection to the existing sidewalk, which is where I'm highlighting here. Continuing the sidewalk again to the Polson intersection, new crosswalk connecting to the existing sidewalk that runs east along Green Hill, and then extending this spur of sidewalk to connect to the existing sidewalks within the Polson site here. So what are some of the challenges? I kind of talked to some of the challenges, but some of the challenges we see, the bridge modifications, that's going to take a little bit more studying. And as we get into detailed design, those things will hash themselves out. Overhead utilities, the first section as you get kind of east of Mungertown, the utilities are located on the south, but then they cross over to the north side. So there will be some overhead utility conflicts there that we're going to have to work through if this project were to move forward. Something we heard a lot about last meeting, the maintenance and snow clearing operations. You know, who's going to be responsible for clearing snow from the sidewalks, how that's going to be done. And then with any sort of sidewalk or roadway project, right, there's pedestrian and vehicular temporary access, you know, maintaining access to people's properties as the project's being built, maintaining access through the corridor. Obviously, this is bus route, emergency access route. So just how do we manage that and making sure that's managed in the best way to eliminate as much delay traveling through this as possible and keep it as safe as possible for people during the construction process. And that's a real quick, dirty overview of what we're doing. I do have a picture of the bridge here. I mentioned the sidewalks, right? Both sides, there's these little like sidewalk areas. So what we would do through here, this is the south side. We would extend this sidewalk out, shift the lane and eat into this side a little bit, and then install new metal beam guide rail for protection. That's all I have for the presentation. I can bring up the plans.
So I guess open up to board member questions. Obviously, there's a little shift in terms of where the, part of the sidewalk would go from the south side to the north side. And so does this require any kind of easements or taking a property at all?
We've tried to avoid them as much as possible. So if this were to move forward, we would get a new survey because we kind of have a partial survey we're working off of now, but we don't believe there'll be any sort of takings or easements required with this alignment.
Okay. And then in terms of tree removals, where do you anticipate there being some tree removals required?
So we do have some pruning and tree limb removal, and then some, I believe there's some shrub removal along the property at the corner of Green Hill and Warpus here. Apologize, I can't see the number for this property here. But through this area, there'll be some impacts, but we've really tried to avoid a lot of the impacts. And you can see, if I actually bring Google Street View up, so this is Mungertown here. So if I spin, there is a decent corridor to install a sidewalk through this area. So some of the trees have been removed. So there'll be some stump removals and things like that in order to create the space for the sidewalk. But we were really able to install most of this sidewalk without impacting any of these trees. There need to be some tree pruning here, which is pretty common for these type of projects. Even this tree here, we'll probably need to prune some of these lower trees, but there is an avenue through here, a little driveway reconstruction. And then here's some of the overhead utilities. We'll need to work with the utility companies moving forward, figure out how to best manage these and get through this area. Here's some of the shrubs that would need to be removed.
So a lot of this, though, from what I understand, it's in the town right of way, though, right? So
Correct.
you're removing, you're not going onto private property, but you're removing any kind of things that are in the town right of way where the sidewalk would go.
Correct. Yep. Yeah, that was one of the goals we tried to really accomplish for this new alignment, was staying within the town right away and not impacting private property, at least to the greatest extent possible.
What about the corner at Green Hill and Munkertown? I know that's a tight corner. How is that being addressed? There is a number of trees lining that corner. I know there were some concerns by the homeowner. What does that look like with this?
Yeah, so there is a path through here. So what we've done is try to we took some field measurements and try to kind of weave this thing through here. So there's some trees and a new utility pole. So a lot of these trees have been pruned and some of these have been removed. Let me actually go to, and these are on private property, or these are on town property as well. So there is some shrubs here we show being removed, but again, here's the property line we're on. We're within the town right away, removing some of these. But most of these, based on our field measurements, can remain. The sidewalk will be pretty close to them. There maybe need to be some pruning, but the goal is for these to remain. Let me get there for this as well. I don't know how updated this street view is, but there's been a lot of work and some pruning through this area.
Okay.
Yeah, so some of these limbs obviously would need to be pruned. This is where we showed some removal of some of these trees around this. There's a new utility pole that was set here. I don't think it's shown here. So
Okay.
some of these have already been removed and some of these have been pruned, but this is kind of the line we would take through here.
Okay.
Peggy, I wanted to ask, what impact, if any, would there be on the Neck River?
Yeah, so this current alignment would be less than our last alignment and essentially none because we're staying within the bridge limits, within the parapet limits of the bridge. What we're doing is narrowing the street in order to fit this new sidewalk through. So there'd be limited impact. I mean, obviously there's going to be impact and ground disturbance in and around the bridge when we install the sidewalk, but we would, we'd include those erosion control devices to control that, and we'd go through inland wetlands and get that approval through the proper channels.
Thank you.
Other board member questions?
I do have a question in regards to what have the conversations turned up with the property owners whose properties will be affected by this? I know we've received lots of emails. Sorry. The doorbell rang and the dog is sounding off. We've received many emails from folks who do not live in properties who will be affected by this project. What has the feedback been from the owners of those properties in regards to support or disagreement with the sidewalk project? Do we have that information compiled?
We have not had a formal public hearing yet because we haven't had a design to present. There was just preliminary design. So I think the process would be to go out and, if we settle on a design and that we want to proceed, I think we would do a formal public hearing and then there would be a reach out to all the abutting property owners. So specifically to get their feedback. We haven't, this is the first time the board has actually seen a design, a design. And this is where I don't, if Rob is on, I think typically we haven't had public hearings before we've gotten the funding, it's usually we do the public hearing later. But I think in this situation, we probably want to have one earlier on, and make sure everybody's comfortable with the design, that it addresses all their concerns. Then we have to vote on applying for lots of funding, which covers all the construction costs for the project. And then we apply to LOTSIP, and then we would then have to vote again on accepting the funding if LOTSIP approves the project.
And then to go along with that as well, I think, if this were to move forward, it would be imperative for us to lock in decisions on what the responsibility for maintaining these sidewalks is going to be, homeowners versus town, and that would include both snow removal and also the infrastructure of the sidewalk, if there were frost heaves or those sorts of things. But another thing I want to highlight is there's lots of conversation surrounding folks being able to bike on these sidewalks. And, I know at least in the downtown area, we have an ordinance in place that prohibits the use of bicycles on the sidewalk area. So I think that's something that also needs to be addressed in this conversation.
I would amplify that in the age of electric bicycles that routinely go 25, 30 miles an hour, setting the expectation that we're going to have those types of vehicles on sidewalks with pedestrians is a recipe for disaster. I think it creates a much bigger problem and hazard than we have right now.
Well, I think that's an issue with any sidewalk, right? And I know the police department has put out some information about what's allowed, and the state has passed actually legislation recently about e-bikes. So I think to me, that's more of a conversation generally about sidewalks and bicycles and policy versus this specific project.
So with regards to this specific project, can you remind me why we're doing this? What is the end goal?
Okay, I know, Bruce, we've had this conversation probably 50 times, but it originated as a discussion about, we had this new school, right? And we talked about, is there a way to connect the campuses? But since then, the town has a bicycle and pedestrian plan where we're trying to encourage more sidewalks and pedestrian activity throughout the entire town. And this allows us to connect different sidewalk networks. And I think that first slide he has in his presentation, if you go back, this is kind of finishing a lot of those connections in an area that has a high degree of pedestrian activity. And it's not just so people can walk from Neck River to Green Hill campus. It is also trying to integrate the neighborhood into this area that has a lot of traffic issues, congestion, and then a lot of people going to Green Hill 7 days a week to use the facilities, which is a big public sporting facility during the year. So, this is supported by our plan that we adopted for the bicycle pedestrian plan for the town. So I think this shows you got these random red lines that don't really connect to to anything, and the green helps bring it all together. Similar to what we did downtown with Scotland, right? We improved that, closing a loop. We have a sidewalk loop going through downtown, and the Scotland Avenue project is kind of closing that loop so that you have connections to places. So that's my view on this, but I don't know if other people have different opinions.
Well, I think the context of my question is, we've got what is, by all accounts, 3 rather dangerous intersections. We've got the weird shaped intersection on Green Hill, and I think that's Warpus. And then we've got the Green Hill Mungertown, which has got new 4-way stops that I think we've all observed the stop signs are routinely ignored. And then we've got the Green Hill Nortontown. So we've got a series of problematic intersections. The biggest one, in my opinion, is that odd-shaped intersection of Green Hill and Warpus. And if we're trying to safely move pedestrians and cyclists through that area, which is a noble endeavor, I think, shouldn't we be focusing just as much time on re-engineering that intersection as we are on putting sidewalks in there, which, by the way, will be moving people, children, across the street 3 times to traverse it, right? They're going to have to cross Green Hill twice and Warpus once to stay on that sidewalk. So all of the conversation is about the sidewalk. We did part of the study that we were doing was a traffic study to look at safety improvements to the road. I haven't heard anything about that other than adding a stop sign, which I don't think we need a study to do. I think we just asked the police commission and the chief of police to consider that, and that can be done. So again, I think the question why, if it's just to connect
Bruce, I mean, look, this is a simple conversation. Sidewalks in a high pedestrian area, which we have shown it increases safety. And so, you know, there's a lot of, you can throw a million darts at this. There's a lot of reasons to throw darts at it, but you either support having sidewalks in this area or you don't. That's really what it comes down to. There's not going to be any like scientific answer to any of this. I think it's just going to be like, do you think this makes sense? You look at this here and you look at the traffic patterns and the pedestrian activity and you look at the accidents and you say, it makes sense to have sidewalks here. So, or you don't. I mean, Rob can speak to the engineering behind this. I know we spoke to the chief drum is going to be reviewing this plan. We haven't gone through all the review plans. This is the first that the board is officially seeing it. We'll have, you know, feedback from the police commission and from really the police department. We're going to get more neighborhood feedback. I think they did a great job trying to address a lot of the neighborhood concerns. But I just really think this is a philosophical view that you just don't want sidewalks in this area, right? So I don't think there's a way that we can rationalize not, you know, I just think you just have to put a stake in the ground and you're either supporting it or you're not. I don't think there's more technical analysis or studies that can be done, right?
So what I hear you saying then is that there is no solution to the traffic. It is sidewalks or nothing.
No, sidewalks is not going to stop the traffic. It's just going to allow people who are in the area a safe way to walk. The traffic issue is a whole nother conversation, and they did try to put some traffic calming measures into there, but you know, I'll let the police department and the town engineer speak to the traffic issues.
Yeah, Bruce,
I
I'm
don't think
reminded,
it's like one or the other. I think you can still have sidewalks and then address traffic as well.
Bruce, I'm reminded that Green Hill Road is one of the oldest roads in town. I've heard it described as being pre-colonial. It's certainly its width and its direction were conceived of long before automobiles were even thought about. It is a difficult road for automobile traffic. But to me, assuring pedestrian safety is something we can take a step towards doing. And unless you're utterly opposed to the concept of sidewalks, I don't understand why putting sidewalks in here would obviously contribute to pedestrian safety. It's not perfect. This is a complicated road that predates all modern concepts of automobile traffic. But I think simple logic tells me that sidewalks here are better than no sidewalks.
Well, so, I guess, I mean, forgive me for questioning and challenging. I'm trying to do this objectively. The fact that I have questions shouldn't diminish the validity of the points that I'm bringing up. And this is not, or I don't think can be distilled down to you're for pedestrian safety or you're against it. I don't think that's fair to the discussion or to any of us participating in it. If we have two dynamics going on at the same time, we should be addressing both of them. That north side curve where the sidewalk is going routinely has cars across it and in the woods. The sidewalk isn't, the presence of a sidewalk isn't going to stop that. So,
Bruce, what would you like to see happen next?
But you're also using as an argument against the sidewalks. You're saying it's not going to fix that problem, so why should we have the sidewalks? The sidewalks are still going to make it more safe for pedestrians. It's not going to solve all the traffic problems, but it's going to improve the safety for people in the area, walking in the area.
Well, once we build the sidewalks there, we're locking in the intersection. Unless we're going to tear up the sidewalks and redesign the intersection at a later date. It would make sense to me that we at least understand that we have no intention of modifying that and we're just going to live with it the way it is, which if that's what we're going to do.
If your question though is to the engineers, is there a better way to design that area where we still have a sidewalk, but we also improve? That's an engineering question. right? So that is a comment on how can we improve the design of the project to address my concerns, not, oh, we don't need the project because I don't like this intersection.
Well, I thought that part of the study was going to address that. That's the way it was discussed when it was voted on over a year ago.
So why don't we have our town engineers on and Stantec? If there's some things that you feel this isn't addressing of your concerns, and let them talk to that, we can still go back and see if there's a better way to do it.
Yeah, so this is Kent Gannon again. So
Yep.
Part of what we did through here was a roadway narrowing, which has benefits for traffic calming. Obviously, the wider the lanes, the more comfortable people feel, sometimes the faster they'll drive in the commute. And then also the introduction, we mentioned at the introduction of the stop sign here. So once that traffic pattern's understood, obviously people are going to have to slow down because they're going to have to stop at this intersection. It looks as though at one point in time, this intersection may have been improved, and I don't know the history of this intersection. I'm not sure Rob does, but I'm assuming this intersection probably came in at a sharper angle at some point in time, and it was straightened out. It's now at a 90-degree angle. Part of the difficulties of this intersection is it's right at the curve, right? So it's tough. We could redesign this intersection, but that would be some major impacts, right? If we were to try to make this maybe the most advantageous intersection, the safest intersection we could, we'd try to eliminate this curve, right? If we were in a sandbox, we're not going to eliminate this curve. You'll be going through properties unless that's a project the town wants to undertake, eliminating the whole property here and maybe straightening this out and helping the sight lines from that point of view. But there's not a whole lot we could do. One of the other kind of strategies we take for improving safety here is we like to do like curb extensions at crossings. You're not going to do curb extensions here that has some disadvantages for snow removal. And then we also just don't have the roadway width here. The roadway is narrow enough. These crossings are not all that long. We did go back and forth, and Rob and I discussed the crossings. You mentioned, crossing again. We had discussed crossing just once here. We settled on here. I think this makes a lot of sense for any sort of future sidewalk connections that may go up Warpus Road, and the same with any future connections that may go up the other roads to the west of here. So that has some advantages here. We can, maybe reevaluate. Rob and I can put our heads together and reevaluate coming back over here for the crossing on Green Hill here. I think we would still want, just for any sort of future connection, maybe to have this build out at this intersection, this side of the intersection here. So there were things we looked at. There's just, there's no magic bullet that's going to solve all the issues here. Some of it comes down to policing the area as well, and making sure drivers are driving the speed limit. The speed limit through this area is 30 miles an hour, and then it's 25 within the school zones. But it is signed for 30 miles an hour between the school zones here. So no one should be going 45 miles an hour. We know, obviously people do travel faster than that. I don't know if Rob, if you have anything you want to add to that.
No, so Kent, I guess the main point is we had discussed this corridor thoroughly, and the different improvements, and ultimately what made it onto the plans here for this meeting. And to reiterate your point, to improve, especially the area with the curve, again, we had discussed that, and it would be a project that it would be a major undertaking for the town that would require restructuring the right of way in such a way that there's been a lot of conversation about this sidewalk impacting private properties, or trees on private property, or different private property impacts. Realigning the roadway to either improve that curve or remove the curve completely would be substantial private property impacts, which would either require easements, or more to the point, takings, or yeah, definitely a level of land acquisition that wasn't anticipated with the intent of this project. We were looking at ways to make the roadway corridor safer, which I think, even though, yeah, we don't technically need a full analysis to say putting a stop sign, we could go to the local traffic authority, but that is an improvement, as well as, Bruce, as you know, with the buses, improving the curb radius northbound on Mungertown, entering eastbound on Green Hill is an improvement, and then as well as what Kent noted, narrowing the lanes is a traffic calming measure. These are the roadway improvements in conjunction with the sidewalk that are more feasible than completely realigning the roadway.
I have a question. Was there any discussion of using a concrete sidewalk versus doing, I guess, for lack of proper terminology, an asphalt roadway expansion with some sort of divider, barrier between where cars would travel and pedestrians and or bicycles would travel? Was there ever a discussion between those two as options?
No, no, not that I'm aware of. I mean, again, we're trying to, as far as the roadway corridor goes, I mean, you generally, when it's possible, you want to separate those type of users. There are areas where you have these different types of facilities where, um, you know, the pedestrians and bicyclists are at the same grade as the vehicular users. But in this case, um, you know, the sidewalk was the primary pedestrian improvement as far as, in relation to this corridor.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
typically
I
once
know
you
we
get,
talked, well, I know we had talked about in past conversations about not having a concrete sidewalk and using asphalt. If you go look at Guilford High School, okay, Guilford High School isn't just as much of a rural area, like in terms of large lots, and very kind of similar to where Green Hill is. They have an asphalt sidewalk that connects all the way from the new high school all the way down to major roads and connecting it to an athletic field, and that's asphalt. So I did ask Rob about that. Rob, I know you had some views on that, and I don't know if you spoke to Kent about it, but the idea being it looks a little more. I wasn't saying it was connected to the road, Jen, but it was a separate, where you'd have a sidewalk instead you have asphalt.
Okay.
And
Similar
to
to
me, it
how
looked
it
more
looks.
like a pathway, maybe not
Yeah.
so urban looking, which some people feel sidewalks look too urban. So Rob, I know you had some thoughts on that. I don't know if you talked to Kent about it.
Yeah,
Um,
Kent and I had discussed that a bit, and again, that's why kind of we talked about doing some type of decorative stamped concrete to not make it as industrial looking. The problem with the asphalt sidewalks, I was at Guilford High School this past weekend, is they aren't exactly maintenance friendly. It's considered a flexible pavement where concrete is considered a rigid pavement, meaning, the operations and maintenance cost of the asphalt sidewalk generally is more frequent than the concrete. But there are things we could do with the concrete to make it fit in with the integrity of the neighborhood, connecting the schools. It is a residential neighborhood, and that's why the stamped again, this is preliminary design here. When this is not something we're going to go build tomorrow, as Ken noted. But there are things that we could do definitely to aesthetically improve what's installed.
And I think with sidewalk installations, I'm guessing, is this gonna go through, because I know we did this, do we have to go through any other town approval processes for a sidewalk installation? I know we did it for the one down on, Boston Post Road, but that was because it was in the historic district. Is there anything here that would get reviewed by like planning and zoning or?
Yeah, so because we are widening or narrowing a road, adding pedestrian facilities, this I would have to check with Erin in this, but I'm almost positive, just like our downtown, no, Scotland Avenue and the crosswalk sidewalk project. This would have to go, the Board of Selectmen would have to refer this to an 824 referral to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Okay. So there
Peggy,
would
what
be
are the
some
next
other.
steps here? Peggy, what are the next steps?
So I think the next steps would be, you know, if we feel that we want to move forward, we need to have a vote to apply for lots of funding, right? So the Board of Selectmen would approve the application. I would think I would recommend us having more of a public hearing for the neighbors, you know, before we did that, in case there were some helpful design things that they could point out that might make this, you know, just get some final thoughts. Rob, I don't know if I know normally that would happen later, right? After we applied to LOTSIP. But really this would just to get the ball rolling. And then, you know, then we would submit the LOTSIP application. That process could take, what, 6 months, Rob, for them to review?
So let me just take a quick step back. So generally with these projects, we'll put together a concept and we'll apply for these funding programs. And then after that the funding is approved, we receive the funding and it goes through the Board of Finance, Board of Selectmen, and we start working on it and we get to a preliminary design phase. We generally have the public information meeting. In my opinion, and Kent, you could agree or disagree, I feel with what you're being shown here, and if you see the full set of plans that Stantec has prepared, it is further along than a conceptual plan. These are more like preliminary design plans. So to have a public information meeting now, even prior to going for lots of funding, to get the public's input and to see if there are any things that we are missing or any inclusions that we could potentially put into the plans is definitely not unreasonable, considering these are, in my opinion, close to preliminary design drawings. Ken, do you agree?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. Part of the LOTSIP process is you need to have some sort of in community connectivity grant, like we did in Scotland, right? You've got to have some public participation. So if they don't really care when that happens, right? You just need to prove that you've gone to the public and you've talked to it. So it's part of the process that they're going to want to see anyway. So whether you go before you've secured all the funding or during the process or after, it doesn't really matter. I think Rob kind of hit it on the head. It's more of if you're ready to do that. And I think with these plans, we could definitely do that.
Okay.
Can you just
So,
walk us through the cost sharing, the LOTSIP cost sharing? So you're estimating it's about a $1.4 million project. How much of that would be covered by the grant? How much would be covered by the town?
So if the project was accepted into the LOTSIP program, 100% of the construction costs, including a 10% contingency and 10% incidentals, which could also be used for construction administration and inspection, would be 100% funded under the LOTSIP program. The only additional town funding that would be required as part of this would be, as we spoke about right now, Stantec has brought these to pretty much the preliminary design phase. We would have to allocate additional funding. To Stantec to bring the drawings and documents as they currently stand to a final design and construction level plans. But as far as construction and construction administration, it would be a 100% included in the LOTSIP program.
So in round numbers, the Madison money is 100,000, 50,000, 500,000.
That's Ken's to bring what you currently have here to bidding documents and construction drawings and a back of the envelope. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, much less than 100,000 for us. You will need to get a survey, so there'll be some cost for the survey. But I mean, just for reference, right? We did Scotland Avenue start to finish. I think our fee was around 100,000, something like that. So we've already spent, a decent amount of effort here, so it'd be much less than 100.
So,
And
so I think, go ahead.
just if we were to have a cost overrun, would we be able to go back to LOTSIP and get a second bite at the apple to cover that?
Regarding design or construction?
Construction.
Yeah, so the LOTSIP program, the funding evolves as your project evolves. So basically, as you start narrowing down, obviously estimates always change throughout the process. So basically, when there are any types of cost changes, as long as you let the SCROG, Jim Road up at the SCROG know, and Laura Francis, they'll send that up to the LOTSIP program, and they'll make the required changes. And that's how our past few projects have gone, between whether it's Cops and Warpus or even the Scotland Avenue project, and now that's in the LOTSIP program, and even the Crosswalk Sidewalk project. As more estimates become available, we send them through the SCROG out there, so that funding is appropriately adjusted.
So I think the next step would be then, the board would be receiving an application that would include this. We'll have the numbers nailed down in terms of the town obligation and the estimated construction costs, and we would just be voting on the application. I think, the timeline from, submitting the application to getting approval, how long does that take, Rob?
It doesn't actually. Our past few projects have been pretty quick. I mean,
Yeah, that's what I thought. Like,
I think it was between us sending it to the SCROG for approval, and then them sending it up to the state, and us getting a commitment to fund letter. I think our past one or two have been like about a month.
oh, I don't remember it. Why do I think it was 6 months? But maybe that was a different one. So and then when that happens, when we get the commitment to fund, that's when the town, the board would then vote, the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance would vote to accept the grant, right? So until we actually accept the grant, we're not fully committed to the project. And I feel like that does give us time to sort out some of the maintenance discussions, that we would need to have, in terms of, because I think any kind of decision we make is going to have a bigger impact, obviously, and we need to look at the bigger picture. But we can talk about the maintenance issues and all that. This is obviously a unique project because of the connection to the schools. So that would be the timeline. So there's no vote today. So, but I think then the messaging is, I guess the question, Rob, we could still vote on the application, having the public information assessor. I just think it's better if we're going to submit something. I'd rather get ahead if there's like one other tweak that could be made, to help appease any neighbors' concerns. Maybe we hold that as just another information session so people can look at the plans, and then we could come to the board to vote to do the application.
Yeah, absolutely. As Ken noted, I mean, there is a checkbox when when you submit these documents to the state of Connecticut. They ask, was a public information meeting or session held? They don't really care much when it was, as long as the public has ample opportunity to weigh in their questions or concerns. I have absolutely no problem. I could work with Kent on setting that up, and we can make sure that we advertise it in all our Madison channels, social media, website. Our Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee has done a great job getting the word out on these projects. So yeah, whenever the board would like to have this meeting, we could certainly work on setting that up.
Okay. So I think with that, that's kind of the path forward right now. And obviously lots to think about. I know this is the first time that the board has seen the actual revised design plans as well as the public. So more opportunity to share thoughts. I know we're just debating, Bruce. So and hopefully you got some of your questions answered by Stantec. So if everybody's good, can we move on to the next item on the agenda? Yep. Okay, great. All right. Thank you, Rob. And thanks, Kent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hopping on.
All right. All right, moving on to item number 8 is discuss and take action to approve a request from Madison Ambulance Association to move $350,000 from CIP fiscal year 27-28 to fiscal year 26-27 for the purchase of an ambulance pending Board of Finance approval.
So moved.
Okay, and this is basically, I think, to get this, the lead time, I think you have a memo in there from the Ambulance Association. The lead time is much more now on ordering these ambulances, and I think he was hoping to get in order sooner so that we get this. We're just in the queue earlier.
Yeah, so I can talk a little bit about it.
Yep.
There is an ambulance that is on order and has been significantly delayed. And it looks like those delays are going to continue. So the association is not looking to take in an ambulance sooner than it is scheduled in the CIP. It is just accommodating its order point so that it's moving it forward to accommodate the extended lead times so that that ambulance will arrive when it was originally scheduled, when it was plopped into the CIP. So they're not changing the delivery date. They're adjusting their order for the lead time. So that's what that's all about.
So I'm comfortable. Any other questions from board members? I know we do have the ambulance here. No,
I don't want to take all their thunder, but
yeah.
Thank you, Bruce.
Russ, you want to? I think it's got covered, right? Anything else you want to add?
No, absolutely. I just wanted to say that, I'm here with me as my Deputy EMS Director, Joe DeAngelis, and also our Treasurer for the Board of Directors, Chris Dowler. And yes, it's exactly what Bruce said. We're just looking to move that money so we can at least start the process. So hopefully in fiscal year 27-28, we can have that ambulance here for us. That's absolutely correct.
Great. Okay. Well, I think then, Jen, you're good?
Yes, all good.
Okay, great. So all in favor of approving item number 8, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great. Moving on to the Board of Finance then. Thank you, guys. Sorry. Thank you for your patience. You got to hear an interesting conversation. I know you
Thank you
drive
very
down
much.
Green
Thank
Hill a
you.
lot, so.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Item number 9 is discuss and take action to accept a recommendation from Public Works to award a contract to Safety Marking LLC for $31,313 for town road pavement markings and line striping, and authorizing the first selectman to sign all documents associated with this award, company on state contract, funded in Public Works Construction Services account.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, this is just awarding a contract. Any further questions on this? No?
Nope.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. Item number 10. So this was just, I had this on the last agenda. Really what I wanted to do is, and I'll share, I do have a slide for this, which is, I don't know how helpful it's going to be. But basically, let me share this. All right, why is this on the, can you see anything?
no.
All right, let me.
Oh, wait, we had it there for a second. Then it went
All
away.
right, let me, it's so weird with 2 screens sometimes it acts. Share. Yeah?
Not yet. Yeah, it is.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. It's very pretty. No, I'm just kidding. And Roz, we're still on item number 10, just so you know. So
I'm here when you need me.
That's okay.
I
So
jumped the
what I was
gun.
trying to illustrate is we've had all these planning initiatives over the last 3 years, right? We've had our strategic plan of conservation development, affordable housing. We're in the midst of the Surf Club master plan. We also have the facilities master plan that is going to be kind of finishing off this summer. And then, we somehow have to take all of these have spun out projects in some shape or form, right? Particularly the facilities plan and the Surf Club plan are going to have very specific, and the coastal resiliency plan, which we started to integrate into CIP. They spin out projects. And we really need to now take all this and have a priority setting process, which I know the public has talked a lot about, like which are more important. We can't do everything. We can't afford to do everything. And we really should be focusing on the priorities that the public wants us to focus on first. So we have a piece of needing to figure out what are the strategic and operational priorities for the town, and then set some sort of vision or roadmap of how we would see those happening over the next 10 years and what that would mean from a funding standpoint. And our funding mechanisms are the 5-year CIP plan, which we every year endorse a new plan. And then the Madison investment plan, which is kind of our long-term financial plan, just looking at cash flows, trying to avoid spikes in the mill rate, trying to get our arms around the next couple of years, our cash flow planning. So I feel like we're at a point now with the facilities master plan and the surf club master plan, which are both going to have some pretty big ticket improvements that come out of it or recommendations. We need to start this process of pulling it all into CIP. It's not all going to be done in 5 years. We need that longer term kind of capital plan, right? Something that stretches 10 to 15 years so that people understand that, we've said these are the priorities that we're going to try to target like for the first 5 years, and then we're going to try to hit the next 5 years. And some of these are related. Like if you do one, then you have to do the other. So, what I think what I'd like to do is kind of go through an exercise similar to what we did with the Madison School Renewal Plan, where there were all these different ideas and improvements and that was a kind of a workshop model that involved, at that point, there was a different committee that did it. But basically I was recommending we just have the CIP committee kind of be the owner of this process. And, go through a priority setting type of exercise to try to, and have public input and have some public workshops. And that's what they did for the school renewal plan, where they sat down and they heard back from the public. What do you care about the most? What is most important? Do you want us to focus on the surf club, or do you want us to focus on some of our empty buildings and renovations or upgrades? So I thought of mapping out kind of what that could look like. And it's a process that we could maybe start in the fall leading up to, our next CIP. And so obviously our board would weigh into this, and we have 2 representatives on CIP as part of that. And because I feel like there's all these competing interests right now and all these different plans, but we kind of need to pull it all together into some sort of capital planning. Like what's actually feasible, what can we afford, looking at all that and what our needs are, and then creating a plan. So that's all I just wanted to throw out there and get your thoughts. I mean, I think we could map this out more over the summer about how we wanted it to work. Do we want to use an outside facilitator? I know that they had used Colliers, who did like financial modeling on all this and really laid out looking at the costs and, how do you sequence this and how would this work? So I guess I open it up for discussion.
Well, I think for my part, I've always believed that the capital planning responsibility lies first with the Board of Selectmen, and so that that setting of priorities for projects that get put into year 5, and maybe even staging them out year 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Is best prioritized by us, and then handed off to the CIP with some instruction about the relative urgency of the projects, and then allow them to do their fiscal time phasing so that the reserve balances and the projects all work together. So I don't think I would be in favor of just handing over the whole discussion to the CIP. I think that it really does have to start with us as a board. And that's, I've always thought, is summer work.
So the process we go through right now is I work with the staff over the summer and come up with a proposal, right? And then we usually in September, the board kind of weighs in a little bit on that. And then we talk about what's new in the plan and any challenges. I bring up where we've had some tough decisions. And then we end up adopting that and I submit it to CIP. My thought wasn't like not having that recommendation, but I guess I thought maybe the board would like to hear back from what this public process gave, what this, if CIP said, here's what we're hearing from the public, here's what we think the plan should be. You think we should do it first and then send it out for public review?
Well, yeah, I do.
Okay.
I agree
Because
with that.
we're looking at all of those initiatives that you've put up. I think, we should be the first filter through of those initiatives through to actual projects.
So, which I don't disagree with that. I guess it's just an issue of, timing, and then we would have to make a commitment to kind of like do some workshops, I think, over the summer. Once we have hopefully some more detail around, the Surf Club master plan and the facilities master plan, enough that'll help us kind of sort through it, right? I don't think we have to have all the details and all the exact things, but we have to have a general idea of order of magnitude, right? Which I'm comfortable doing that. We just have to be committed to doing that, because I was going to do it already with the staff anyway, so it saves me some time.
And I think that it does require a renewed discipline from the department heads to have their capital needs documented and articulated according to the timelines that were originally envisioned. And I know that we routinely slide on some of those. I understand organizationally that kind of thing happens, but we might need some tough love here. If the work isn't done, then it waits a fiscal cycle. If it's important enough, it'll get the documents will get submitted.
I don't disagree with having the selectmen do it first. I do think we have to make a provision to hear from the Board of Ed if some of their projects need to be considered by the selectmen. That's the one advantage of CIP, is that everybody's in the room. But having the selectmen do it first, as long as we are conscientious about speaking to the Board of Ed while we're having our debate in terms of projects that they would be advocating for.
Well, the good news is they're incredibly proactive in their capital planning. So when we talk about, having the information available to us, I think probably they would have that to us before the end of this meeting if we asked for it. So you're right, Al, that their needs need to be considered in the bigger discussion. And I would never have it any other way. So I think we're in violent agreement on that one.
So how do you envision, because I'm just trying to think there, because I haven't gone through the school renewal plan. What I thought was very helpful, I was a member of the public. I wasn't on a board or commission or whatever at the time. And I thought it was really helpful having an opportunity to, have input on what I thought was the most important, right? Like we do these individually for specific plans. For the surf club plan, people are weighing in, they want space or they don't want space, they care more about the beach, or but how do we take all of this, and if you had to say to somebody, here's 30 projects, what do you care about the most? Like I feel like that would be helpful to have for us as part of our thinking, right? So that's what I was envisioning, some opportunity for the public through some sort of workshop or whatever. I remember the school, the renewal plan, they had 3 different public opportunities to go in, and you did sticky notes, and they had little groups, and they kind of coalesced all this information to show that people really cared the most about, certain things. So would you want us to facilitate that before we start our process? I'm just trying to map out like timeline. Like, would you want us to have a session like that and have like the projects and get feedback of what people care, so we get a general sense of where they really want the focus to be? Or you'd rather wait?
I think I would suggest, at least as in a year one, that we come up with what we think is the most logical plan. We can then put that to the public for feedback. I don't think I would start with a clean sheet of paper so much in the public forum, just because it will be so scattered. I don't think it would be productive. I do think, Peggy, you bring up a great point. If we talk about this as a year 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, the capital requests come to us with, this really needs to be in year 5, and this is why. This one can wait until year 8, but it's important that it gets in year 8, right? And then we may get one inevitably that says this really needs to go into year 2, and for us to be able to consider that, right? We want to march these projects through the years to give us time to fully explore everything that we need to do. But every once in a while, something comes up that we really need to take action on right away, and we just need to be prepared for that. So I guess what I'm saying is a ranked choice list of projects from the district, from the departments, that we can then consider, and then we can maybe add things that we think have been missed. And then jumble it all up and figure what really gets moved onto the CIP for consideration.
Okay. Jen, did you have some thoughts?
I was just, thinking along the same lines as Bruce, that I think we need to have a discussion to come up with what we think is a reasonable plan that then we take to the public and say, does what we've come up with jive with what members of the public are ranking in terms of level of importance? Because I think the process could take just a disproportionately long amount of time if we just like went in with the blank sheet. So just trying to create some efficiencies that way, I think would probably be helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I was envisioning a blank sheet, but it was more that because we do have these plans, right? And the master planning process, I mean, we have a facilities committee, right, that is charged with the facilities master plan, but they've obviously had to carve out certain things because those are being handled independently. So, I think that's another issue. Like, how do we incorporate? I think, I don't have the answers today, and I think this is helpful feedback. And maybe what I do is come back at the next meeting and map it out a little bit more based on your feedback. I don't disagree with some of the comments you're making. I'm struggling with like, what's the right way, right?
Yeah.
So maybe I come back with some suggestions on that and then a little bit of a timeline, and then we could talk about it again so that at least we have a goal in mind. Because I'm guessing it would be towards the end of the summer once the Surf Club Master Plan is kind of finalized and we've seen a final report from the facilities committee. That'll give us like substantive things to look at,
Yeah. And I think it will answer some of the concerns that we heard from the public during this past year's budget season, where, there's CIP projects that, oftentimes are quite substantial in price tag, and folks don't feel like they get as big of an opportunity as maybe they would like to in order to weigh in on those projects. So I would like to think that this could help to address that in some capacity by giving members of the community a chance to weigh in on the prioritization.
And we have talked about trying to put like a point system or whatever to projects in CIP, even because in addition to like big projects, right? Like renovating Jeffrey or building a new building at the surf club, there's these $3 million things, $5 million, right? How do you rank those compared to all the other $2 or $3 million projects? So yeah, I think it's a lot that we have to think about. So I'll come back. Al, are you good? I'll come back with some ideas maybe, and we can talk about it more at our next meeting.
Yeah, the one thing I was reminded of is the school process. I believe we had that committee chaired by a civilian.
Okay.
I don't remember the reason, but
yeah, it was definitely it was a different committee completely, right? It wasn't
Yeah.
CIP, but it had representatives from all three boards on it, if I
Yes.
recall. So, and maybe I'll try to dig up what that was and what their process looked like. So just to help us think it through a little bit. But it sounds like there's consensus that we should be taking the lead first before we defer to, a public kind of workshop on this. So,
yeah.
okay. All right. Well, if everybody's good with that, we'll talk more about that, or we can move on to item number 11. And we don't have to have an extensive conversation, but I wanted to talk about town citizen awards. And first of all, just to talk briefly about the Don Rankin Award, which has been around for a bit now, but I would say a little inconsistent, with how we've chosen people to win this. It's been kind of more reactionary sometime because of an event that had happened or somebody was leaving town or and it's a wonderful way that we've recognized community service. So I thought, maybe we could set up a more, just so we have some process there so that all future boards, we're following the same process. We're doing the awards in the same way and at the same time, that we have some criteria that we all agree on. And so I sent around a draft of that, which I think we don't have to talk about it now. Maybe you could send me comments via email and then we could kind of approve kind of an overall, description for the award. But I thought it would be better as we continue forward, because I think this dates back 10 years now, but it's been intermittent when we've awarded it. And so this kind of gives some nice structure to the award. So is everybody good with that? Maybe just emailing me some comments on what I said around, and then we could maybe finalize it, at another meeting.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Al, thank you. You should get an award for being the person who comes up with the criteria for the awards. Appreciate that. I think this is a terrific start to the process. So
yeah, and know that we need flexibility in it, and then the second thing is actually we have Ross Kama joining us, is an idea that we had talked about. The Rankin Award is more about very localized community service, often government service, but Madison is home to so many prominent people that have just done a lot, right? Internationally, nationally, leaders in their fields, and they've helped elevate, I think, the reputation of Madison in doing that. And so being our bicentennial year, it was a conversation Roz and I had. Wouldn't it be kind of nice to have a special award for that type of person, right? That and so Roz took a crack at putting something together. And I think the idea here was more to keep this independent. It's not like a board of selectmen kind of thing, but it's more of an independent prize going forward that we could establish. And so she sent around, and so Roz, if you just want to talk through a little bit your idea, and I think it's a wonderful launch period to do it right with our bicentennial, something that we could maybe keep going moving forward.
So you all are getting to know me. I own big ideas. It's what I do in my day job, but quite honestly, in my professional capacity, I've volunteered for my professional society. I was national president, so I got to set up a foundation and worked carefully with our lawyers and many to identify folks in the design field. And then in my specialty in health design, we similarly give out an annual Changemaker Award for people who have made a significant difference. So when Peggy identified an individual who shall remain nameless that she would like to honor as a result of all the good work we're doing this year, I had actually already been thinking, tested it. I went around town, as you well know. I mean, I spent 2 years on the Academy Design Committee, talking to many in the community about what mattered to them. And then as chair of the Madison 200 America 250, it is clear to me that the people in this town and how we connect are really the reason why people love living here. And so to that end, it also is apparent to me that we have a number of notable folks who have done work in all sorts of areas that we don't know about. You know, just this weekend, I met someone who's now living in Madison that I've looked up to my whole career and is, you know, qualifies as a notable. So to that end, when Peggy asked me how we might frame this, I went big. I went very high in my thinking and thought about something called the Madison Prize. And, you know, tying it to this slogan that we've been using from before to beyond, you know, building where we are and how we are is really based on all whom have lived here before, and certainly those who are here now, the two, but how we pay it forward to those who will continue on and make this a wonderful place. So this idea of honoring a significant, and we can identify whether it's industry or social, you know, there's a lot of work that has to go behind this before it gets anywhere, but a change maker. And I added to human flourishing because I had the wonderful opportunity in my work to go to the MIT Media Lab a couple of weeks ago. And as we talked about how AI was going to impact healthcare, one of the things that we said is deficient are really the good case studies about what makes us survive as humans, but also going up the Maslow triangle flourish. And when we have good examples, it's very easy to tell the story. And so, if we could identify those in this community and build an understanding of where and how we could use their notoriety, their connections to build an endowment. And I talked a little bit to Dave Allen about this. So I've done a little bit of homework. This isn't half-baked, this is semi-baked. But we could fund a relevant program. So if we honored, you know, someone who, you know, was exceptional in a field and in that field gave back to community and was looking to build a legacy, this award would allow that individual's network to contribute to it. You know, I see it as a biennial award. So the first year you identify the honoree, then you go into fundraising or development fund work and build a legacy fund that could then be a grant given out to those who would follow up in that career and do that good work. You'd have to build an independent committee to think about how you would call for nominees and awardees, much like you were talking about the Rankin Award. You know, there'd be work to be done on creating a development fund. There is nothing. I looked into a lot of community service award, a lot of recognition for community leaders in this town, but nothing of this nature. And then I did send in the preparatory material. I went on ChatGPT or Claude, I think, because I can't help myself, to look and see if there was, in fact, a precedent to this. And there is an international award, the Balzan Award. It is quite ambitious, but pretty much works to the same, recognizing an individual who has made a difference and a contribution and is willing to pay it forward to allow others to carry on the work. So without revealing what Peggy is thinking, we could name this award the Madison Prize and then put a committee together to think about whether, in fact, this has merit. It's huge and certainly would be noteworthy given the consideration and could set a precedent to allow us to go forward and begin to recognize the luminaries in our community. So those are my thoughts.
So I opened up for discussion.
So I think this is fabulous work, Roz. Thank you. I guess my first question is this really a municipal thing?
No, it's a community thing.
I think we do it adjacent, right? With, some recognition of the event, but I'm not sure that the selectmen or the town of Madison really needs to be anything more than a willing, sort of partner in all of this.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Peggy came to me with an idea to recognize someone, and I thought, what would be the highest and best way? I had a conversation with this person's assistant, and in understanding the modesty, a lot of people who do great things are quite modest, that it wouldn't be about them, it would be about paying it forward or beyond. And, this isn't tied to the year's celebration. It's a wonderful time to incubate a big idea. And I'll bet, independent of government, we could get a group of citizens. There are a lot of pretty well qualified people who could organize something as grand as this.
They might even be more willing to get involved if it's not part of town.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think the intention here, right, is this wasn't to be a town thing, but it was more to brief the board about this idea because it is spinning out of the bicentennial, right? It kind of came out of the committee and the discussions. And as representatives of the people, like to get your thoughts. Like, do you think I think we're special. Madison's fortunate because we do have a lot of really, famous or notable people that have done a lot. And so
so this is not so much about Madison as it is about a Madison resident who's done something bigger in the world.
But are we, giving it a name? Big prizes will name themselves for location or for, a significant philanthropist, but this could be something that puts us on a map, and the rules around it need, work. Is it just a Madison resident? Is it, what is it that we want to limit in criteria? But the fact that we could recognize people are doing good things to change the way we live our lives, and under this, uncertainty and mistrust with AI right now. I mean, my takeaway from that conversation with these incredible scientists up at MIT is that we need case studies. We need better examples. The data that's been built up is what we get back in AI. And so if we could create the wonderful stories about what people are doing, we'd be putting ourselves on the map.
I personally love the idea. I think that this does feel like a natural springboard, in terms of celebrating our bicentennial to, bring forth a new idea. And like you said, Russ, not for it's something to be handled by government, to be handled by an exterior group. But I am continually amazed and impressed having conversations. Oh, I met this person. They invented this thing. And it's like, holy cow. And these people have elected to call Madison their home, yet they're going out into the world and just doing such amazing work. I think it would be awesome for other folks in our community that are maybe not getting involved in these conversations as much, just to learn about, how many awesome people, and create those connections, because it's quite impressive. It really is quite impressive, some of the things that I've heard over the years, and I would love for us to be able to help celebrate that in some way.
Yeah, no, thank you for agreeing. I'm excited by the concept. whole lot of work yet to go into it, but what better time, right? And with the first nominee at hand, it's appropriate.
Okay, great. Well, to be continued. We look forward to some updates maybe on how this evolves. So thank you. And obviously
right.
excited. Reminder, Saturday, June 13th. Yep. That's our little
Saturday,
commemoration.
Flag Day. Please, everyone know that you're invited to the Princess's Lawn on June 25th for a wonderful concert. And then I'm sorry, 26th, and then the 27th to the Surf Club for our wonderful Rising Strawberry Moon Festival. So many good things are happening. So look forward to seeing you all then.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so I think that wraps up our meeting, except now opening up again for citizens' comments. So raise your hand and state your name and address, please, for the record, and keep your comments limited if possible to 2 minutes. Thanks.
Go ahead, Terry.
Hi, Terry Vanadolder, Bartlett Drive. Just want to throw a few more ideas out there about the Green Hill Road issue. Everybody's in favor of a safer environment for pedestrians and for cyclists and for, the neighborhood. We need that practically everywhere. Just some thoughts. Sidewalks, we know, are used by pedestrians and not cyclists. So for the sake of the cyclists who use the area, the traffic issues along Green Hill Road are a major concern still and will be. And that's, I think, what Bruce was mentioning about that intersection at Warpus. So there are a variety of speed modifying methods that should be first and foremost taken in consideration for the redesign of any section of Green Hill. Rumble strips, didn't hear anyone in the engineering world talk about rumble strips, but those are the things that are cut into the asphalt that you find along the edges of our highways and sometimes in the middle of some roads, which when a vehicle goes over those indents in the road, they cause the wheels to vibrate and force the vehicle speed to slow down, which I think is a main goal in terms of safety on this road where we do have a lot of traffic, particularly children. Want to mention one item of Kent Gannon from Santec. He talked about when Peggy was asking about tree removal. Kent mentioned about pruning, but what I don't think Kent may understand is that when you disrupt the soil all the way from the trunk all the way out to beyond the drip line of a tree, it can have the impact of killing the tree up to 2 years after any major construction is done around it. Now, there are several towns who have taken their mature and notable and significant trees into serious consideration around the design of any sidewalk. One that I'm familiar with is Suffield, Connecticut. And I have photos, which I'll be happy to send on to the Board of Selectmen, which show how the design was, where the sidewalk curved around the tree. And it's not only, it's aesthetically pleasing, but it maintains the integrity of the tree, and it doesn't do anything to limit safety, particularly if you have a cyclist who now decides to get off of the road and get onto the sidewalk. You don't want that cyclist speeding down a sidewalk that goes straight. It'd be better if it curved, and that will keep the cyclist from going anywhere too fast that might negatively impact the safety of a pedestrian. So I'll send you some pictures of that. Amy Thomas, just a couple of other things, please. Yeah,
Okay.
thank
Yep.
you.
Just
Take care.
if you can wind it down in a second here. Thank you.
You betcha. Okay. So I want to again reiterate that we really want to see those town committees who are charged with having subject matter interests when it comes to the environment, waterways, and preservation of those things that make Madison what it is, to be included in these discussions and meetings. To my knowledge, Conservation Commission, Tree Advisory Committee, Inland Wetlands were not brought into these conversations, and I think it's imperative that we would be. Otherwise, why do we have these committees? Why are we here? We're here to be advisors, and we have studied a lot of this, and we do have, I believe, information that is of value to you as decision makers and to town residents at large. Thanks so much.
Thank you. And another public comment?
Alex?
Hi, everyone. Just this conversation.
Go ahead, Alex.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. No, you're muted again.
Mute. Let's see. I don't know why I keep coming off mute, but you can hear me now, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Okay. Simply saying this conversation was too good not to drop in. And I'm calling from 917 Boston Post Road in Madison, but currently calling from San Francisco, the epicenter of AI. So it's funny that Roz mentioned that a moment ago. And also, it's always fascinating to meet people from Madison wherever I'm traveling, including learning that the J boat, which is a one design that's world famous now, raced sailboats all over the world, originated in Madison, Connecticut with the Johnston family. So quite fascinating Madison story for sure. This is going back to sidewalks, and I'd echo what many callers have said before me, including Terry, getting people involved. And I was actually in the meeting 2 years ago and can't believe that much time has passed. And I'm very pleased to see so much work and effort put into the project to protect trees, to hopefully enhance neighbors, their yards, and things that they hold valuable to them. And I'm really happy to see everyone's concerns being brought into the calculus. I did, though, want to connect some threads here that might be interesting. Since the Neck River School is on the Neck River, and we're putting in, potentially sidewalks, and callers have mentioned wildlife in their yards, and recent turtles have been run over, some snapping turtles. This might be an excellent opportunity to also make this a wildlife corridor where we use it as an educational opportunity. So it's much more than connecting 3 current sidewalks that lead nowhere to sidewalks that are certainly, I think, in my humble opinion, likely to save somebody's life. Using this as an opportunity to put in perhaps culverts that help animals cross, use it as an opportunity to reinvest in some natural plants and recreate habitat, perhaps even educational signage, and really use it to as an opportunity, more than simply saving people's lives with sidewalks, but also getting people to walk that might never have even considered walking between schools, getting people to appreciate the importance of wildlife, given that society seems to work by going around trees, by protecting trees, by doing all the things that are in our power to make this a much more impactful project than simply putting in sidewalks. And I'll follow this up with an email and some of the points, since I wasn't expecting to call in, but I hope this made some sense, and I only wanted to call given the iron's hot, and I'm hoping Rob and the consultant will follow. We'll watch this meeting and get this comment in time to perhaps include it with the project for the LOTSA grant. So thank you very much for all the time and volunteering, and thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you for your comment.
Jess Joseph.
Okay.
Bev. Hi, Jess Joseph, 129 Green Hill Road. I just wanted to first thank the first select woman, Peggy Lyons, for putting together these comprehensive plans for our town and moving them forward. And I appreciate the transparency and giving the public a chance to initiate our voices as to what we think is important, since we do elect the Board of Select. And I just wanted to really highlight that. In addition to understanding and seeing now the improvement sidewalk plan and being able to see that it's going across the street and protecting that beautiful tree that was always the initial plan anyways, to put that sidewalk around that beautiful sycamore or beech, I'm not sure, tree, but now we're just going, the proposal's right on the other side, having the additional crosswalks, having the additional stop sign, even narrowing the road is proven to slow down traffic. So with additional signage, I think that it's all going to improve it. And so I have my daughter that also wants to just speak briefly. You say your name and your address.
Hello, my name is Vivian Joseph, and I go to Neck River Elementary School, 3rd grade. I am 8.5 years old and live in Connecticut, CT, Madison, 129 Green Hill Road. I would like to have sidewalks so I can walk and bike around my school, have dirt roads for biking, that cut through, that go through forests, and have like a little path, and then like for example, my friend's house lives 2 minutes away from me biking, and it's really dangerous when I turn the corner. And if there was a dirt road or a sidewalk, I would be able to get there more safely. Any questions?
Thank you very much for your comment. I appreciate the prepared remarks. It sounds great.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Back to my mommy.
Thanks.
Allison R.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll work backwards. For the Madison Award, I thought that was a very good idea. And also, there's plenty of other awards that can be from municipal people, such as the president, governor, mayor. So I think it would be fine to be given from the Board of Selectmen, and I think it's would be a high honor to be given from the highest elected body in Madison. So I think that's a great idea to be done by you guys, because we don't really have a mayor. That the Selectmen is the highest elected office in this town. So working backwards, is there a way that one of the ways for the CIP, is there a way to vote on possibly the money going for more roads or road expenditures or infrastructure, or has that already been allocated? That was my question. I know you guys talked about the surf club and other things, but I didn't know if there was if that was more of a topic or plan, because we've called many times. Our road is very, very bad. I mean, I'm sure there's other people, and it seems that other roads got added after the fact, when the original road plan came out. And it just seems that the roads are kind of like a joke. We're talking about sidewalks after the fact, but the roads people have to walk, bike, stroller their kids on, so when you have potholes, it's dangerous for everybody. And I happen to live in a neighborhood where, the sidewalk goes up from Railroad Avenue, goes over to the four-way stop at Lover's Lane, and then the sidewalk it goes to nowhere and it just stops. And we see it crumble. We've seen the new sidewalks that they're putting in right where 95, the exit ramp, and that's already been either run over and it crumbles. So the maintenance concern for the sidewalks, I mean, that's new. The whole crosswalk over the 95 exit, which I don't know why they want to make a crosswalk over the exit, but it's already been like ruined. Someone's already ruined that sidewalk. So the maintenance for sidewalks, I would think would be a major concern because it's liability for their homeowner. It's going to be either their responsibility or the town's responsibility. And then also it makes people feel like, you know, that they in goodwill had voted for the school funding. It's like if you give a mouse a cookie, they ask for a glass of milk. So now we voted for the school, and now we're gonna have to. The school is not good enough. We have to have the sidewalks. So, I mean, is it? I grew up in urban schooling in New Haven, and the kids did not walk from school to school. If we needed to go to a auditorium or a play somewhere, we did not walk down the street because it's really not safe. It's not safe to walk anywhere. So, I mean, if you walk your kids on Green Hill Road, people have accidents. They jump curbs, they jump sidewalks. People fall asleep at the wheel. People are, you know, traffic these days are actually worse than it was probably 20, 30 years ago. So I understand that the intent is to be safe, but I'm not quite sure why the sidewalk plan is having more concern over the general basic infrastructure of this town. So I mean, I understand all of that, but I just think that a lot of money is being planned for sidewalks to connect to school, which I don't know how much it's going to be used. So, and also I just wanted to clarify if one of the CIP, the baskets or the topics were for possible expenditures for infrastructure, because it feels like people in my neighborhood are really not being heard as far as our road. Thank you. Oh, and the address is 41 Yankee Peddler Path.
Thank you. And I will say there is funding allocated for roads, and we're actually adding additional funding. There's been a whole road improvement study done, so there is a plan for that, and that is part of CIP. But moving on to
Amy
next
Thomas.
Okay.
Hi, thank you. Amy Thomas, 34 River Edge Farms Road. Just wanted to say that I'm happy for the different voices and the conversation that's happening around the Green Hill Road sidewalks and connecting the schools. And just to echo some of the earlier comments, I love Alex's idea about taking this as an opportunity to create something more than just sidewalks, to create, potential, like an even better asset for the town. They're basically, and to echo what Terry was saying, I think there's a lot of creativity that can be had with these plans, particularly since the intent is to connect the schools, that the sidewalks don't have to be straight, they can meander. I think there's a lot of opportunity to combine the practical and safety measures with the environmental and educational ideas. So I'm looking forward. I'm glad there's going to be more an invitation to the public to weigh in. I believe those are conversations that can be deepened, and yes to leveraging the expertise and the knowledge on our town's boards, such as the Conservation Commission, the Tree Advisory Committee, and Inland Wetlands. We have some incredible experts on in these groups, and this is a great example of when they should be heard. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. I think that's it for now. We've had plenty of opportunity for public comment today. I appreciate everybody coming out. Obviously, a hot topic in town. So I guess with that, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. And thank you, everybody. Have a great day. Hope to see you on Saturday.